All right, now we're going to go deep. What keeps Jeff Jonas up at night?
Insomnia.
Too obvious. Try again.
I drink coffee till 9 p.m. Oh, is that your fifth gallon? Why is that unhealthy? You know what keeps me up at night is it's really anybody, I'll just say any company of any size, okay? Not just a company like mine um, that's relatively new on the landscape, at least a new name, is you have to be worried about overconfidence. And if you're not scenario playing, having 2/3 to 50% of your revenues being taken out because of some kind of event, um, um, then I think you're not being a good leader. And if you're a chief data officer, I think that translates to what kind of events are going to happen that are going to affect the top line of the company and the board. I mean, where the board's going to have to make some interesting decisions because of what's happening to the economy, or it will civil unrest in some way in some area disrupt a plant. And I would be thinking about how to not be caught surprised by those things. And I'd be making investments that continue to bring agility and take costs out at the same time. And that's how I'm trying to run my business. And that's how we're trying to help other businesses, by the way.
Well, isn't it interesting how different of a perspective we all have on that advice now? I mean, if you would have said that 18 months ago, it probably sort of gets left to the side like, oh yeah, that's good advice. I might revisit that later. And now it's at the forefront for all of us. So
Yep.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's still a lot of variables left between now and how long a vaccine comes out, and economic stability in certain parts of the world that can ripple over here. I think there could be some post-election, somebody on some side is going to be pissed off after the election, And is that going to be what if any business disruption is that going to be? And then I'll just throw this in. It's also a time to be thinking about how to increase diversity and reduce carbon footprint and all of these bigger, more grand things that are long-term that are required to not only have a durable company, but have a durable economy and a durable world. And I think to lose sight of those longer-term objectives. So,
Well, we're in the midst of change, so steering into the right types of change, this is certainly an opportunistic time for all of us to sort of reset on that. I think it's a great point. Great point. Thanks. Okay, final question, I think. Unless you give me another one to ask here. So I'm going to get personal with you. And unless I have this wrong, correct me if I do, but you're one of 3 people to compete in every Ironman around the globe. You've done them all. So my question is, where does that drive come from? Where do you get that? Like, just share a little perspective about you and what made you take that on?
I had no life of athletics, and at 31, my mom asked me to do a marathon, and I'd never run outdoors. I'd never run in a race. I'd never done any running, period. And she says the marathon's in 5 weeks. So I trained for a marathon in 5 weeks. At 20 miles, I had to ask her to walk. She basically beat me. She could have carried me over the finish line, and that kind of set me off. A year later, we did a half Ironman, and I crushed her.
You're a little competitive.
No. How dare you? No. And then I just started doing Ironmans, and I did one a year, and then I started doing them in different parts of the world. And then my buddy was like, hey, let's go do the one in France again. And then I came back, and the next year they go, let's try Switzerland. And he said, why a different one? I go, let's just do them all once. But I didn't mean it. I just said it. But then, I don't know, 13 years later, I'd become one of 3 people to do them all. But then it becomes this burden. Like, I represent America now, there's one German, one Mexican, and I represent America. So every time they announce a new race, I mean, anywhere in the world, I got to be there. One year they announced Mallorca, Spain, Saturday, Ironman, and then Chattanooga, Tennessee, Sunday.
Ooh.
I'm telling you the logistics of doing a race over there and then getting over here and then doing that. I got to the start line 20 minutes before the gun went off.
Wow.
So I can represent America, man. The burden.
Well, thank you for representing America well. We're very appreciative of that.
Doing my best.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, thank you. Thanks so much for the time today and carving this out in your schedule and putting up with my questions. I think everybody's excited to hear from you and really appreciate your time.
Thanks. I'll just say one more thing. I'm Jeff at Senzing.com, and I answer every email I get from everybody in the world. Like literally, if somebody listening has a son working on a thesis that might be something I can help with in computer science, just have them email me. I'm like super accessible. Might take me a few days to answer the email, but I really do answer absolutely everybody.
Fantastic. We'll get ready. They're about to come pouring in for sure. All right. Thanks again, Jeff, for joining me. To our audience, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, man.